Hey everybody, Daniel Glass here. I want you to tell me, in looking at this stick, am I using my arms, my wrists, or my fingers to control it? Arms, wrists, or fingers? Well, guess what? The answer is all three. I can use my arms, my wrists, or my fingers. So in working with my students, I talk about something called the American Pulse, which is a pulse that is run through all the forms of American popular music that have then gone on to become the world's popular music. So I'm talking about every style of music, from ragtime all the way up to hip-hop today. This idea of the American Pulse is that it has two characteristics. It has forward momentum, it makes you move, makes you want to dance, but it also feels laid back. And because of those two characteristics, it makes this pulse feel unique. So that pulse, the American Pulse that I define as having forward momentum but also feeling laid back, is something that I spend a lot of time working on with my students, because if you can really understand that pulse and integrate it into your drumming, you will be more employable. This is the message. So there's three mechanisms I teach to develop the American Pulse. And one involves the wrist, one involves the arm, and one involves the finger. So I'm going to show you those three. I'm not going to show you how I teach them because that's a long process, but I'm going to show them to you. So the wrist is the first one we work on, and it's what I call the throw-up exercise. It's a core of my teaching. It's an extremely important aspect of understanding this pulse, and that's primarily a wrist exercise. So you're using this wrist hinge to make it happen. So I can create a pulse that looks like this, and although my arm is moving a little bit, it's primarily developed from throwing the wrist. I also work on what's called the finger push-pull technique with my students, which is using the fingers more. You can see my fingers now are more involved in this process, what's happening. And so I can create the same idea using the fingers. And the idea is not to create something that sounds like ga, 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 ga. It's to make it feel as even and flowing as that throw-up exercise. So if I switch now between the wrist-controlled throw-up and the finger-controlled push-pull, it looks like that, right? So the idea is whether I'm pushing and pulling, or whether I'm using the wrist to control the stick, whether I'm using the fingers to control the stick, the motion looks and sounds the same. If it looks the same, it will sound the same, okay? The third mechanism I use is about the arm, and that is the molar motion. So in this case, I'm going to play what's called the two molar. The arm now controls the stick, okay? So you can see my wrists and my fingers aren't really involved. In fact, I can take all of my fingers off the stick and still do this molar motion. And guess what? It looks and sounds the same as the throw up or the finger push pull. So the idea is that regardless of whichever mechanism I'm using, arm, wrist, or fingers, I can create that American Pulse, the feel of that American Pulse. My groove has forward momentum, but it also incorporates lots of space, and it feels laid back. Both of those things are happening at once. And why do I want to be able to do this? Because sometimes it makes more sense for me to use a molar or to use the arm. Sometimes it makes more sense for me to throw with the wrist. Other times it makes more sense for me to do the push-pull with the fingers. So again, if I'm going between these, and now I'm going here, and now I'm going here, if I put this guy back up, well, which one am I doing? You tell me. Can you tell? I'm switching right now. All right, so something to think about, something to work on. Have a great day.